I want to bring in, while we wait to get back to Ed, Nina Khrushcheva. She is a professor of international affairs at the New School. And of course, she is the great-granddaughter of former Russian Premier Nikita Khrushchev. Professor, how, you heard me asking our correspondent Ed O'Keefe there, but how do you think this proposal would be viewed from Kyiv first? The notion that Ukraine would not be allowed to join NATO is striking, and also having to give up part of its sovereign territory that the Russians don't even control yet.
Good morning. Well, that hasn't changed. I mean, we know that the Kremlin has been asking for Donetsk and Luhansk right from the beginning, and earlier parts of these negotiations in Alaska, and then also when President Putin talked to President Trump in January, February, that was already kind of an ask, and this ask or this point continues. So that hasn't changed. And Ukraine has been saying that that is non-starter or potentially needs to be talked about more. The issue with this is that Russians are actually advancing in Donetsk, and they're now very close to be taking, potentially very close to be taking, can take a bit of a time, but very close to be taking Pokrovsk, or one of the towns that can allow them to move forward in those regions. So that's something that Russians are pushing forward, and Ukraine may or may not have to agree. But Russians do have an issue with this plan as well, although for now they're saying they haven't seen it officially. For them, the security guarantees is a problem, because even if Ukraine is not part of NATO, then still the NATO troops can be entering Ukraine or Russia if Russia attacks again, and that for them is a non-starter. And also, of course, the reparations, which is also part of this 28-point plan as well, that could be a problem for them.
So here's a crucial question then, Professor. If both sides agree to this plan, this proposal by the United States, what are the chances that this is what will sate, for lack of a better word? In other words, is this what will appease, for lack of a better word, Vladimir Putin? In other words, he will take this peace proposal. There will be peace between the two countries, and this will hopefully ensure that he doesn't have another incursion into Ukraine or any other country that he so interests him.
Well, once again, I've said it all along, Putin is not really interested in any other countries. Actually, that was his war with Ukraine. It's that later on, Europe pushed forward to say that he wants to take other countries. I don't believe that at all, because Putin has been actually having a bit of difficulty taking Ukraine over, not let alone anything else. So for him, it's a Ukraine story. Whether it's going to be upheld or not, this is a very big question. It depends on what kind of details this 28-piece point proposal can work out, because some of them are quite specific, but many of them are not specific. So what do this all things, like, for example, NATO, or Ukraine doesn't become part of NATO, but yet NATO, Article 5 of NATO, that all countries stand by Ukraine and kind of go into war with Russia if Ukraine is attacked. How close is that to reality? So nobody can say what can appease Putin. The Russians have not agreed to that proposal yet. But I think what potentially can happen, Ukraine keeps its sovereignty, Ukraine gets rid of its corruption, it moves forward to become a full-fledged member of European Union. Russia says, we got Donbass, we got Luhansk, we got what we wanted, Ukraine's army is less. They may agree on that, but that all depends on how ironclad guarantees and ironclad legal issues will be worked out by all parties. And I am not that certain that this proposal will not, as Ed O'Keefe mentioned, will not kind of lie on the side weight of the road the way Alaska summit happened and whatnot. So I don't think that. I mean, I personally do not believe that this is the last chapter of that peace plan.
Well, and before we go back to Ed, I guess the other sort of sticking point would be what kind of accountability will there be if either party does not adhere to this peace proposal? In other words, what is the United States, what is Europe prepared to do and I'm thinking obviously here Putin, if he backtracks?
Absolutely. And actually, that was the plan also says. It does have some specifics. I mean, we don't know how exactly they're going to work out, but some specifics is that if Putin breaks this guarantees, then the sanctions are pushed back on, then the NATO Article 5 will be put into place and so on and so forth. So if Ukraine does that, then all the assistance would be withdrawn and so on. But the question is how much either side believe that all these things would happen if they break this kind of a peace plan, if they break this kind of a peace agreement. And so far, my view is that Putin doesn't really take the Western world very seriously because things have been changing. He has been threatened. Not much has happened with those threats and so on. And I think that is a very, very big question. Trump thinks that as long as he's president, Putin is not going to break the rules. Potentially, yes. But if Trump is not president, what's going to happen next? What kind of Russian behavior would be if they say potential Joe Biden or Joe Biden-like president will be in the United States? Will Putin listen?
It's a big question. Professor Nikita Khrushcheva, always great to have you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you.